So for this week's main topic, as we mentioned before, we are just back, literally we walked in the door, we haven't even unpacked our bags yet. We just kind of stashed them in a corner, and we ran right to the studio to tell you all about our back-to-back Disney cruises on the Disney Magic, right, Michelle?
That's right. Yeah. And what was really fun was one was considered a regular cruise and one was a special holiday
Yes,
cruise.
and we'll be telling you a little bit about that as well. So, yeah, we all started this cruise last Friday, so 1 week ago today, or cruises. I kind of put them, I know it's a back-to-back. I kind of put them together into one single cruise, but we'll tell you about some differences when you do a back-to-back, just in case you've never experienced that before as well as we go through this. Booked this a while back, and part of our reason for booking this was because it was the opportunity to see Disney's new private destination Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, which I got the name right, and I didn't on our video twice,
bravo.
but I did get it right here. So that was part of it. And we will definitely be getting into our thoughts on that spot later on as we get through this segment.
Right.
So
Can't wait.
So we're not going to go a day by day thing here.
Thank
I think I'm
goodness.
going to break this down kind of by categories as we go through it, to kind of just discuss what we experienced on the Disney Magic. It had been a long time since we've been on the Disney Magic. It had been since May of 2016 was the last time we had been aboard the Disney Magic. We had been aboard every other ship in the fleet since the last time we had been on the Disney Magic. So it was good to get back to one of our favorites, one of the classics. We love the classics, right, Michelle?
The very first.
The very first Disney cruise ship, which set sail, what was it, 25 years ago this year?
I think,
Is it 26 now?
It's 26 now.
Yeah, it was 25 last year, 26 now. So we sailed out of Port Everglades, so that's Fort Lauderdale, for those of you who know. We ended up parking at the port just like we did on our last cruise because we found that extremely convenient. Now, the price isn't necessarily the best you can find nearby, but for us, it was just so convenient to get off the ship and be there and just park the car and go right back into the terminal and get off the ship and get back to the car, right, Michelle?
Right. You're not dealing with any kind of shuttles. So you're not having to wait for shuttles going to the port, or as Tom mentioned, as soon as you're off the ship, you can walk directly to your car and zips up.
It's very convenient. Like I said, you can shop around, find better prices, find better ways to approach it. But we didn't mind, for the convenience, we didn't mind paying a little bit more. And so that's what worked for us. Dropped our bags off. We had a port arrival time that Michelle nabbed us because she is a great planner of 10:45 a.m. So really, really early. The first is 10:30. We were the second group to be able to be allowed into the terminal.
Right. Yeah. And that was one that actually, when we first did our online check-in, we had a later time, and I just happened to be periodically going back and checking, and an earlier time came available, and I nabbed it.
What was our original time? Was it 11:15 or was it 11?
11:15.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we got a better time. So that just goes to show you, go keep checking back because you never know what might pop open. So, yeah, our embarkation, very smooth. We got in there, went through the check-in really, really easily. It was no problem. Through security, zero problems. Then we sat and waited for, I don't know, what was it, about an hour in the terminal?
Yeah, I think so, right.
Until they called our number. Our number was 5. So there were several groups ahead of us, but we were still on board very, very early and walked on board. And there she was, the beautiful Disney Magic, just as we love her.
Right. Yeah. And I just thought the whole setup at the port made everything really convenient, even more so than, I think it was a little more organized even from the last time, which we thought was really good. But they actually have stations outside of the port itself where, I mean, you're in the port arena, I guess, but outside of actually in the terminal, with time destination. So with your category of your port arrival time. So I think that was good because before it was a little bit all together, and they just, I think, as long as you arrived, had you line up. So
right. So it was easy. We don't take the photos at the beginning of it. You can choose to get that first photo right there in the terminal and then head on board. We like to just skip that because, one, we don't know if we'll purchase it to begin with, because especially if you have the full photo package, you probably want to go ahead and take as many
Right.
pictures as possible, including that one. We weren't sure if we were going to buy any pictures or not. So we're like, we don't need that photo. Let's just go ahead and get on board that much
Yeah.
earlier and get to lunch, right?
Right. Right, exactly. But if it is your first cruise,
Oh yeah.
take the picture. You don't have to purchase
Or
it.
with your
But
a lot of family or something along
right.
the, yeah, you don't need to purchase it. But yeah, I
Have it
always
just in
recommend
case.
taking, even if you're not necessarily planning on buying photos, get the pictures taken, because you never know when there'll be a great photo that you'll decide you really want. They're not cheap, but they do come up with some great photos for
Right.
sure. So definitely. And that played something to us on the second half of the cruise. We ended up actually purchasing some photos that we weren't
Unexpectedly, yes.
necessarily expecting to do. So yeah, went on board, went straight to lunch. The restaurant, we decided we could have gone to Cabanas, of course. We could go to all the different food stations that are out on the pool deck as well. The Cabanas is the buffet, if you don't know. We could have went to the different various food stations they have up there. But we decided, you know what, let's go ahead and do a nice sit-down meal. We were very close to it when we boarded the ship. So we went to the restaurant that was Rapunzel's for lunch. Let's go ahead and start getting into the dining.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get into the food, and we'll start with our lunches aboard the ship. We only did one in-room or in the dining room lunch, and that was the first one, right,
Right,
Michelle?
exactly.
What did you think of that lunch?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's a nice way to kind of start the cruise because, whenever you're traveling, there's a lot of moving parts, and this was a nice way to start the cruise, to just kind of chill for a second and appreciate where you are, get to see the layout of what the dining rooms look like a little bit, and nice lunch.
It was also our chance to see this dining room, which had changed since the last time we had been aboard the Disney
Right.
Magic. As we told you, we hadn't been aboard since 2016. They have since reimagined that into Rapunzel's Royal Table, I believe is what it's called, or
think so,
Royal. Is it Rapunzel's Royal Table?
So,
It's Rapunzel's restaurant, okay? But we went in there and had lunch. Lunch was fine. I wouldn't say it was spectacular. There were some hits, some misses. This is true of virtually every Disney cruise you've ever been on. You'll always run into some hits and misses throughout your dining experience on board, at least in the dining room, I would say.
right. By far, I think the most popular is people going to the buffet. One, it is on the same deck as the pool, so it's an easy way to transition of getting a bite to eat and then going right to the pools, especially since your room isn't ready until a little bit later anyhow. So that is a very popular location to go, and they do have great food stations. But yeah, we
So-
chose the dining room.
We will not be talking a lot about lunches on board this ship because we honestly didn't have many lunches on board this ship. We had that one right there
Right.
that was in the dining room. We had sort of one that was a little bit of some of the stations outside. We had some of the shawarma. We had the chicken tenders, which I have to have on every Disney cruise because they're the best chicken tenders you're going to find anywhere. I don't care. That's my opinion. I don't care what you think. They're amazing chicken tenders aboard Disney Cruise Line, aboard every one of their ships. Their chicken tenders are
Right.
amazing. And I don't get chicken tenders anywhere else because they don't compare to what they have on board Disney Cruise Line. We had lunch in our room at one point near the day when we were finishing it up, packing. We stopped at Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point twice. So we had lunch twice there. And then we had 2 Palo brunches. So we weren't going to eat anything for much of the rest of the day after that. That's why we didn't have a lot of lunches on board.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Now, we did have some breakfast. We had a few in the dining room. I thought that the food options in the dining room were good. They were well done. And again, hit and miss, but some tasty stuff. We did do a Cabanas breakfast as well on one day. What did you think about, I mean, I know we didn't do a lot of breakfast, but what did you just think about the breakfast options?
I like the breakfast option. When you go to the dining room, they have a lot of the standard choices that you can get, whether it's, eggs, sausage and hash browns, or omelets, Mickey waffles. So they have a lot of selection there, which is really nice. And again, it's obviously for us, we like just sitting and chilling and not having to fight through any crowds or anything like that. So having the breakfast was good.
Good. Yeah. I enjoyed the breakfast. I mean, nothing special. I thought the breakfasts weren't like wasn't a knockout, but they were tasty. You could find lots of diverse options there, and yeah, it was fine. All the breakfasts were fine.
Yeah, it's the dining room breakfast was, like I said, pretty typical standard breakfast. You could also do room service for like continental type
which
foods,
we did
which
one
we
morning.
did one morning as well. And then the dining room obviously the buffet has more selections, more options to try, and also obviously Mickey waffles in abundance there.
We'll talk more about lunch at Lookout Key when we get to that segment later on in the episode, because we're going to say a lot about Lookout Key, no doubt. And you'll probably want to hear a lot about that more than what is other stuff we're talking about necessarily. For dinners, so it's the usual dining rotation. If you've never been aboard a Disney cruise before, know that you will rotate between 3 different dining rooms as you go through, depending on if you're 3 nights and you'll hit one each. If it's 4 nights, you'll hit one twice for a couple different things. And then sometimes if you're doing longer than that, you'll hit all of them twice and maybe another one a third time. So it just depends on what's going on. So the options were, we talked about Rapunzel's Royal Table. I believe that's the name of it. Lumiere's, which was kind of more the elegant French dining room, and Animator's Palette, which is pretty much on board virtually every Disney ship. I think the only one that's not on board is the Wish right now. Yeah.
Anything Wish moving forward.
Right. So we kind of knew what a lot of those entailed going into it. We ended up deciding the first night to go eat at Palo. We skipped the original Animator's Palette and then got back in the rotation with Rapunzel's Royal Table, and continuing on from Lumiere's. Interesting thing on the second half, because we were doing a back-to-back, as we mentioned. You would have thought, okay, we're going to go back to Animator's Palette to start the next one. No, we went back to, we didn't get to Animator's Palette until the very last night, which actually was good. It it was kind of nice to finish out in a restaurant that's so dedicated to Disney animation.
Right. Yeah. I think it turned out perfectly in that regard. Surprisingly. Yes.
So what was your feeling on the food in the various dining rooms, the regular dining rooms? We'll keep Palo here just for a moment.
Right.
What did you think of that?
I think all in all things were pretty good. Our server was really keen in making great recommendations. Most everything that if we followed his recommendations were hits, and if we deviated, we found we weren't as pleased maybe. So I think he did have a keen sense of the better dishes. I think everything tasted well. The predominance of anything was maybe a little under seasoning. But other than that, I thought they were really good in terms of food quality.
Yeah.
And options. We knew we were doing back to back, that we were going to do each restaurant multiple times. So it kind of gave us the ability to maybe say, okay, this time we're going to try this, and another time we'll try another entree. Obviously, you can order multiple entrees, multiple appetizers and desserts if you want. We broke it up because we knew we were going to be trying the same restaurants over.
Yeah, a lot of times if there's something that we're kind of in between on, we will either order that item or we'll just mention it, and the server will probably go bring it to us to try anyway, because that happens quite often. But yeah, so the fact that we did back-to-backs, and because if you do a longer, like a week-long cruise, you're going to get a different menu every single night. When you're doing a back-to-back, it's the same menu when you're in the dining room at least for the first night that you go in there. So you'll get those chances that if there's something you really liked from the first night, you can have it again, or you can try something completely different. Or if, let's say, someone who you're cruising with had something completely different, but you took a taste of it and you really liked it, next time I'm going to get that. That is your opportunity to do that. So one of the benefits of doing something like this, a back-to-back cruise, more than just extending, what could be a very short cruise, a 3-night or a 4-night, into a full 7-night, is the option to, try a few more things food-wise as you move through, and not feel like you're either stuffing yourself with too much food or wasting food just because you want a few bites of something.
Right, exactly. Very
So,
well said.
but yeah, I think I was actually pretty happy with the food in the main dining room this time. There were misses for sure, and there always are. And yes, I believe that sometimes it was slightly under seasoned. I think Disney does that on purpose. They do put salt and pepper right there on the
Right.
table. They know that people might want it. It's not one of those where if you go to a fine dining establishment, you won't see any salt and pepper on the table because they think they've made it perfectly in the way it should be served.
Right.
Doesn't mean you don't like it a little salty or whatever, but they let people adjust for their own taste purposes. And you can always ask for sauces and salsas and all sorts of, hot sauce, whatever you want, they'll bring that to you as well. But overall, I thought the food quality was good. It was cooked well. I thought it was mostly tasty. Yes, our server Oliver, spot on a
Right.
lot of his recommendations. Not that we didn't find some things that he didn't recommend that we didn't enjoy, but almost everything that he recommended, as Michelle already mentioned, was really, really good. If you don't know, again, I assume most of you have sailed on a Disney cruise before, but if you don't, yes, you move to different dining rooms every night, but your dining staff moves with you. So you keep the same people with you every night so they know what you like and they know what kind of things. Like Michelle ordered butter on the first night to go with some of the bread, and we had butter every single
I
night
know.
at our table for sure. And that sounds funny, but not everybody had butter put on their table every single night, even though there's bread out there because they have dipping sauces and other things
Right.
going on. Michelle had butter every single night for her bread if she wanted it after the first
exactly
night.
true. So funny. But yes, they are very in tune and attentive to your requests. And they're great with if you need further explanation of things. They do have vegetarian options on all of them and some plant-based options as well.
Yeah, and we tried a couple. You got them specifically as second dishes just to sample them. And I think that a lot of the vegetarian dishes that you brought in were very, very good and actually reasonable options to some, and better than some of the meat-based,
Right.
meat, fish, chicken, whatever you want, poultry. Some of them I thought were tastier than those.
Right, exactly. I mean, when we talk about the under seasoning, we probably should emphasize it's mainly low. A lot of things tasted like that they were
Just
prepared
need
low
a little bit of
sodium,
salt. Yeah.
low sodium. Not that they didn't have other types of seasoning with tastes that were appropriate for the dishes. It was more just the salt.
Right. And don't expect a lot of heat, like spice heat as well on there.
Yeah.
So if you like something spicy, ask for some hot sauce or something on the side that can help kind of jazz that up
Yeah.
a little bit, I think.
Some things that were appropriate to be having a little bit of heat had some kick to it.
Yeah.
but
I'm not saying
nothing
everything didn't
excessive.
have it.
Right.
I'm just saying that I wouldn't expect that from a
Right.
lot of the dishes that they are.
Right, exactly.
But overall, I was pretty happy. And, we've talked about this in the past with the dining room food, is that it's tough. And I think Disney has suffered a little bit from this in their dining room food for years because of the fact that they know that half of their clientele is probably mostly just going to be eating macaroni and cheese and maybe a hamburger or some chicken tenders, which
Right.
I don't blame them for that. So it's tough to want to make sure and make these other dishes that maybe the adults will enjoy and elevate them extremely when half of your clientele isn't going to be touching those anyway. So I think they've realized over the years that this is more important, and I think they have gotten better with it. And I do believe, especially with some of the vegetarian dishes, that they have improved that as well. So if you're looking for something, if you are a vegetarian, or if you're looking to just do something maybe on the slightly healthier note, I'm not going to say they're all, just because they're vegetarian, they're necessarily
Right.
healthy. But if you're looking for something like that, there are, as we already brought up, some good options out there
Exactly.
for
Yes.
sure. So let's go. We did Palo 3 times on these 2 cruises. 2 brunches, 1 brunch on each cruise, and 1 dinner. We did the first night dinner. Let's talk about the dinner first, Michelle, because that was our first Palo dining experience on this cruise. What did you think about the Palo dinner experience?
I really enjoyed it. Now, let me explain. Palo's dinner there's 2 options of the menu. You can either get a fixed price menu that has 3 courses, and you could also choose if you wanted to pay more, get a wine tasting with each course, or you can just order a la carte. which is what we ended up doing. We did the a la carte because some of the entrees in particular that we wanted weren't in the fixed price menu selections. But if you do the fixed price menu, it is a very good deal.
And there were some good options on there. There were
Right,
just
a
some
lot
things
of
that
great.
we wanted to try that were not listed on there.
Right, exactly. Some of the more expensive ones, I guess. But I thought, well, one, the service was outstanding. We had Oscar as our server, and he's been in the industry for a long time. You can tell. That's why he's at Palos. And he made some great recommendations for us for some wine that would go with our entire meals. And I thought the food was delicious. I tried dishes that I hadn't had at Palos before, and I loved them.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed this dinner. We've been to Palo for dinner several times. It's not our favorite, but we do enjoy going occasionally. And I think this may have been one of my favorite meals. I thought the food was completely spot on. Everything we got was fantastically cooked, wonderful, tasty, flavorful. Oscar, our waiter, as you were mentioning, was phenomenal. Had some great recommendations for us. The wines he picked out were amazing. There's some wines that I know on that list, and I was looking at one. He offered for me a completely different one, and I'm happy he did because it went really well with the various different courses. I mean, I was kind of focused more on the entree. He hit one that hit more across the board with all the different items that I was ordering, and it was perfect. So these servers, especially up in Palo, but in the main dining room as well, they know their stuff. Ask them what they think. Because they know, one, they know what they've tried and what they like, but they also know what the people, they see so many people,
Right.
what they've enjoyed as well. So they can give you those recommendations, and they're really, really good.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said at the beginning, if for some of the times I deviated from their recommendations, and not that something was not good, but for example, I deviated. Honey, I don't think you deviated very much, and I would taste your dishes that they had recommended, and I'm like, yeah, I see why they recommended that because it was so much better.
Yeah, it was really, really, Palo was great for dinner. Okay, so the fixed price menu is $50. If you are a platinum Castaway
Club.
Castaway Club, all these
I
Castaway Club. If you're a Platinum Castaway Club member or above, so a Pearl, then you get one free meal per cruise for two people, right?
No, for anybody
For
in your
anybody in your
cabin.
cabin. Thank
Any
you.
adult in your cabin.
Any adult well, it's adult dining, so you're not going to have any kids at Palo up there. So that covers $50. So if you just want to not pay anything extra outside of the tip, you should definitely tip your server
Right.
on top of it. But if you want to pay nothing extra, you can get the fixed price menu for that platinum, and then it covers that. We'll talk about a better deal in just a moment. Although that's not a bad deal. Like I said, that menu, there were at least half the items I'm like, this is things I'm going to get. It's the other two items I'm like, I don't know if those are the things I want to get. I think I want to try something else. That's what inspired us to go the other way with it.
Right. And we've done the fixed price before, or at least had a lot of the dishes that were on the fixed price. And I think we wanted, at least for me, I wanted to try some new things.
Right. And by the way, even though if you decide not to go with the fixed price menu and you have that $50 buffer that to use for being a platinum or a pearl, that gets put towards your total bill if you decide to go a la carte. So know that going in. Again, more reason to keep Disney cruising because you want to get to that platinum to get those free Palos because it's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And there's lots of other things that come along with that as well on your cruise that you take advantage of as well. So yes, so dinner was fantastic. Loved it. Near sunset. It was beautiful. I think I love the Palo layout on the classic ships a little more than I love them on, say, the Dream and the Fantasy. We haven't been on Palo yet on the Wish, but I love the way, I think I just love the layout of it just a little bit better. Again, I think I'm just nostalgic for the classic ships more than anything else.
Yes. But I agree with you. The layout just seems a little bit better. And like you brought up the sunset, it was most every table, I think, could see the same sunset Whereas on the other, like the Dream and the Fantasy, you might be set back or not be facing necessarily to get the same view. But this one was beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Note the wine is not included in that price that you get any free. That's extra. It's not in that $50.
No.
So any wine you purchase, whether it be a bottle, whether it be a glass, is separate price. So we did also do 2 brunches aboard, 2 Palo brunches aboard this cruise, the whole cruise, one for each portion of the cruise, the 3-night and the 4-night, both happening actually in Nassau, which Palo used to never serve brunch when they were in port. It's been more of a recent addition that they decided, we're not getting enough chances for people to experience this brunch. So we're going to go ahead and open it up in Nassau, since a lot of people don't necessarily get off in Nassau anyway. So why not open it up and give them the opportunity? So, and that's where we took advantage of our chances to do those brunches.
Right. Yeah. The other day would be a sea day. That's for the brunch. The dinner's every night, but for the brunches, yes.
So the price for the brunch, and it doesn't matter how much you order outside of alcohol, doesn't matter how much you order, it is $50. So if you have that benefit, that platinum or pearl benefit, your brunch outside of tip, again, remember the tip is complimentary. Know that. Way great reason to be sure. And one, get to that status and then book a brunch. But even if not, it is so worth the $50. One, you get a cocktail right off the bat. It can be a Prosecco or a mimosa. If you don't drink alcohol, they have a wonderful. Someone had it next to us, and I could smell it. It was like this wonderful peach drink that was. It's a non-alcoholic Bellini essentially. It was lovely to smell. I didn't taste it, but it was lovely to smell. So you have that option as well. So that's right there, and then you get all this amazing food, right, Michelle?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the first drink, whether it's alcohol or not alcohol. I should say the first cocktail, alcoholic or non-alcoholic cocktail, is included in that $50, and then the rest is all going towards your food. You don't pay extra for that, and it's included in the $50. And they have really amazing selections for breakfast there. That's not your traditional.
Yeah. So, since we did it twice in this one sailing, well, 2 sailings, but again, it's tough to call this 2 sailings because it's really one cruise for us. We had the option also to try some different things that maybe we haven't had in a while or we haven't done before. So we did that at different times. There's things that we were like, we always wanted to try this, but I always love these things when we go to Palo Brunch. So I get these things. Anyway, so what you get is you get it. It used to be kind of a buffet. And I think since COVID, they've kind of changed the way they do things there. And, some ways it's more convenient, but it's also like, you don't get to pick and choose as many things, but you do get great options. They start off with an antipasti selection. If you want it, that could be either seafood or it could be, basically Italian meats, like a charcuterie board. Think of that. Which was wonderful. We would always, one of us would get one of us would get the other, and then we'd share the things that we wanted off of each other's plates. It's a great way to do it if you're going as a couple, to get a little bit of everything.
Right. It's just small bites of different selections that they put on there.
Mm-hmm. They come out with a bread basket, and they also give you a selection of pastries if you want. Yeah, you can take the bread basket, which is more savory, and then they have almond croissants, regular croissants, cinnamon rolls, and
Sticky
those
buns.
kind of things. So sweet Danish type things. You can pick some of those as well. And then you can go through the menu, and they have everything just like you'd expect from a brunch. There's anything from breakfast options, sweet savory breakfast, on up to like lunch, even dinnerish options there. The hit for me always, and one thing I will almost always get, I changed up the second time just because I wanted to try something different. But my favorite thing, and I think a lot of people will agree with me out there, is their chicken parm. They're known for it, and it's amazing.
Right. Yes, definitely. They also, one of the things we tried that they highlight is that they do have flatbreads that are very traditional Italian pizza type of dishes. and they use the flour is actually from Italy. It's that they use in there, so it's different. It's a much better quality of a dough that they're able to use with these flatbreads. And you can even, they have several selections, but you could even do like half and half, which is what we ended up doing. Is one half, for example, we had goat cheese
And
and
sun-dried
and
tomato,
sun-dried tomatoes, and the other one was
margarita.
right.
So yeah, because we both, it's funny because we're like, oh yeah, let's go half and half, and so we can sample it. But by the way, we haven't had one of the flatbread pizzas in a long time. This was one of those things where like we haven't gotten it because we know we're going to fill up on other foods that we all regularly get there. It's like, since we got to do it twice, this was our opportunity to sample something different. We haven't had one in a while. We're like, they always look great. Let's get one. We got one. Did not disappoint. Half and half. Both of us liked. I mean, I think we both liked both sides,
Definitely.
both flavors, both halves of the pizza. But I think each of us had one that we liked better. So that really worked out well for us.
Yes, and the size is, it's like if you think of regular like Domino's pizza or whatever, it'd probably be considered a medium.
Yeah, it's
So
like a
definitely-
12-inch.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's definitely enough to share.
Yeah.
Is, because you are, generally speaking, getting other things. You probably wouldn't get value out of this restaurant if you just got their flatbread.
We didn't finish the whole pizza.
no,
we
we
did
couldn't.
not finish it all because we had our other things. We had our entrees. I got the lasagna the second time. The lasagna was very good. I'm still going with the chicken parm next time I go, but I did like the lasagna very much. So you had the mushroom ravioli, right, Michelle?
Right. Yep.
And then you also had what was the other item that you had?
It was a rollatini.
That's
was,
right.
So it was like
The
like
eggplant rollatini.
right. It was breaded but baked, and it had some prosciutto and some cheeses and obviously tomato sauce.
Which of those two did you like better?
I think I like the rollatini better. Yeah. It was funny because I tend to like mushroom ravioli, but even the server had said it was, she actually recommended it, but she said it is a very light flavor and the mushroom, and I think I do like a bolder flavor. So it was good, but yeah, I think I was looking for a bigger punch, but the rollatini
Yeah.
was perfect.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We both got the heirloom tomato soup, which is extremely good. Take time. I know it seems weird in the middle of brunch to stop down and have a bowl of tomato soup, but it's very, very good. Highly recommend the tomato soup. We get it every time, and it's delicious. So, anything else you want to say about any of the dining, or that not counting out Lookout Keep, but any of the other dining and
Well, right. I don't know if you were going to talk about this in another part of the thing, but 2 out of the 3 dining rooms for the regular rotational dining had some type of entertainment associated with it.
That's a good call. Yeah, I didn't bring that up.
Right. And then, excuse me, on the 4-day cruise, because we had one of the restaurants repeated, then they did a special pirate menu.
Right, for Pirate Night. If you don't
Right.
know that, there is a special, not necessarily, if it's a 3-night, they don't have a special menu. They just give you the 3 main dining menus.
Right.
So you're not missing on one of the restaurant's main menus. But on the 4th night or longer, they will give you a special Pirate Night menu specifically for that night. Or if you're doing a Marvel Day at Sea, they'll do a specific Marvel night or
Right.
whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
just know that going in,
Right.
that there is another menu as well.
But so in terms of that entertainment factor, I thought the one at Tangled, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I got, part of the show is just kind of fun, and it's geared more towards the kids, and it's a little silly. But then there's a part in it tugs at your heart.
Yeah. If you we all know hashtag Real Men Love Frozen, but also hashtag Real Men Love Tangled. So glad that we have got to experience that, because again, last time we were on there, the Tangled show had just debuted, just not that long before that. It was within a year before that had debuted on that ship. But the dining room hadn't changed yet. They've since changed that dining room into the Rapunzel themed dining room, and it's a fun little dinner show that goes on while you're there, with everybody you love,
Right.
from Tangled.
Right. And then at Animator's Palette, Like you said, for us, I think it was really nice to have that nostalgia to finish our cruise off there. But as you would expect, the theme is about animation, and the more classic ships have a different show than the newer ships. Because of technology things, but I think the common point is the Mickey Mouse appearance.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I think everybody would
No,
expect
Mickey Mouse
Mickey.
appears
Right.
regularly.
There's
And
not. I'm
Animated
not
Pal
telling
has
you
been
anything.
around for a long time,
Right. Right. And I'm not going into details on how that is, but it's Sorcerer Mickey because it's
It was very fitting for our last
yes.
night. Yes.
Yes. And they've included now, if you do have a Magic Band Plus, that during the Animator's Palette show, you also get a lot of activity with your Magic Band Plus. I was like so mesmerized by
Right.
it.
Or as they call it, even it's a Magic Band Plus. They call it on Disney Cruise Line a Disney Band Plus. I
Oh,
don't know
yes.
why they
I don't
decided to have a different name, but that's what they call it.
But you can use whatever Magic
Right.
Band Plus that you have. You don't have to use one that was with a Disney Cruise logo.
Right.
On
You
it.
can get one on board the ship if you want or beforehand. And those work just like they do at Walt Disney World or Disneyland. They open up your room. You can charge things
Right.
on them. You use them for the photos. They are very helpful to have along, but your key card works just fine too if you don't want to spend that extra money. Definitely have the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app though.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, because it's very helpful when you board. Get that, download it before you get on your ship.
Right.
You can get your countdowns and everything. You can do all sorts of stuff on there beforehand to get you prepared for your cruise. But then once you're on board, it's how you are in the know of everything that's going
Right.
on board. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on to some of the onboard activities that were happening on this ship. Michelle, what were some of your favorite, non-regular entertainment based, but just regular onboard activities? I don't think there were a lot that were significantly different than cruises we've done, but what were your favorites?
Right. So I think it was really fun. We've talked about this in the past. In each ship, going to be a different experience. Is the Art of Theming tour?
The art of the theme.
Art of the Theme. Thank you. That they bring you around the ship and really point out some of the elements of the artwork and of theming in the areas. We had a lot of fun. We got to spend time in the kids club as well. I got to go down the slide. I felt like I was definitely in Andy's room there because the setup is just perfect. But just also a lot of the other details and the ship are just cool. And we were fortunate that our tour guide, he's been on the Disney Magic for a while now, but it was the first time he was doing this tour. So it was kind of fun being able to, experience that with him, experience that very first time. And so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, we all got a group photo at the end. He took one of the guests took a group photo of us all with him so he can remember that, like his first group that he
Right.
ever took on this tour.
That he could send to his mother. Yeah.
Yes. Highly recommend you do this on board a Disney cruise. Take the time, find some spot in the schedule. When they're having it, sometimes they have them multiple times. Sometimes it's just one. So mark it. And it's not for kids. It's 18 plus. So the kids, will have to go to the club or do something else during that time. But it is, if you love Disney Imagineering at all, you could go through the ship and the thought process that goes through. I mean, you can just look at it. It's like, oh, it's a pretty ship. But there is some real interesting things that they do to bring you in to the storyline that they're trying to tell in every room, in every level, in every, the atrium, the theaters, all that stuff. There's ideas in place that you may not notice unless someone points them out to you and what their thinking was involved. And we've done these many, many times. And even on ones that we've done before, I always learn something new. It's like Michelle's doing this because it's that kind of research. It is always impressive and it always adds to your cruise vacation.
Yeah, it's really gives you a better appreciation for everything there. Now, the other thing and we mentioned it, I think last week on the episode prior to the cruise that we like to do, and it was again a great hit, and that was They don't call it silent disco, silent DJ
DJ.
party.
They don't want you to
Or
think it's
silent,
just disco that they're
yeah, or
playing, although
silent
they do play
dance,
plenty of
silent
disco.
dance party, I think now
Yeah.
too. Silent dance party. That was a lot of fun. It was great because I think we had although there wasn't a big crowd when we went early on, there was definitely a great broad cross section of people. So there was, us. There was another couple with one small child, and they had
Yeah,
another.
this was a family one. They have some later at night that's just for adults, but this
Yeah.
was for families. Yeah.
Then they had another one with a little bit larger family. Then there were two girls who were cruising together, and it just was a lot of fun to be able to experience that with a lot, with different people and everything, and yet it's still pretty. You're by yourself in what you're listening to.
Yeah, if you never know what that is, I mean, you put headphones on, and there's this one had 3 different channels. One was kind of Disney tune specific, and the other ones were different kind of generational music. So you would kind of flip around until you find a song that you like, and then you would dance to that. And yeah, if no one sees it, you're dancing to nothing. You're just out there dancing like an idiot, to no music, but it's all going on, but everybody's out there and doing it together, and
Yeah.
and it's fun because people are dancing to different beats, and and
Lip syncing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Try it, do it next time you're on board. Give it a chance. It's really a lot of fun. Outside of that, we did the trivias. We failed at the trivias most of the time. This time we were just always like 1 or 2 away every
Right.
time. I don't know why this was not our best trivia outing for these cruises, but we still had fun doing the trivia. There's always lots of stuff that you can do if you want to, or not so much if you can do if you don't want to do. Let me get to this first because we're about at the halfway point here. So let's go ahead and talk about what happened in between the cruises when we had to shift between one sailing, a 3-night, and to the next sailing, a 4-night. So what happens is if they know you're sailing back to back. So
The key there is when you have your reservation booked is that you have them linked. That
Right.
You confirm with Disney. If you're working with a certified Disney
vacation planner.
vacation planner, they can make sure that that's linked. Otherwise, you would contact Disney Cruise Line and make sure that your 2 reservations are linked.
And you could also, if for some reason they don't know that, or you can check on it when you get on board, go to guest services and verify with them that they know that you've got another reservation that's right after this one. It could be in the same cabin. It could be in a different cabin. We liked having the same cabin because the best part of having the same cabin is we unpacked and we didn't have to pack back up and take that stuff off. I don't know what the process would have been. I would assume they would have taken your bags away and then brought them to the next cabin.
Right. I researched it. So you would you wouldn't have to you wouldn't put them outside because those go to the terminal. So you would pack your things up and leave
them in the room.
Packed in the room, and then your room steward would have to.
Okay, that's
move
good
them.
to know because that was not our situation. And the last time we did back to back was not that situation. We stayed in the same room. So what we did is we just left everything there. It was great. We didn't have to worry. The night before, we got a note saying where to go for the next day. We pretty much treated the morning like a normal. Most guests are getting off. We did not. We did go to our breakfast in the morning, just as we would have if we were disembarking. You get a breakfast on your last day. If you decide you want to go to that, you don't have to. But we did because we wanted to get some food in us before this. And then we went to one of the clubs, Fathoms. We were supposed to be there by 9:30. We got there well earlier than that. Just found a spot, sat there. We did our little video. I don't know if you saw that on social media. We did a little video, and then we had just sat and read and just kind of enjoyed our time. You could do your survey, which you should do your survey while you're there before you leave the ship. You can do it afterwards, but I highly suggest you do it while things are fresh in your memory. And then at 9:30, they came and they got us. It was a little after 9:30. They came and they got us and they escorted us into the terminal. We went through the baggage area into where immigration was. They did a face scan for us. The immigration was face scan this time. It was facial recognition. So we didn't have to break out. They tell you to bring your passports and they give you a little ticket as well. This is your reboarding ticket. But You go scan there, and then we waited for a second until they were cleared. Then we went into the same lounge area that we sat in when we first got on the ship, or not before we got in the ship. We first got in the terminal. We checked in again. They called us over. We checked in one more time for our next group. Then we sat back down. We waited. I think it was a total of, I think the total time from when we left Fathoms, did everything, and then we got on board was an hour and a half about, I want to say, maybe a little bit shorter than that. Then we got to go on board first. Before everybody else, you have some time. Not everything is open, but you get a free coffee or hot chocolate at the Cove Cafe if you want it. That's included in going, and you go back to back. And then you just kind of wait for everything else to open. I think they open around 11:30, noon, somewhere around that time.
Before you get too far, who were the first
we were
cruisers who got on that second sailing?
Because we know. We keep an eye on things. We knew where to sit. So you could be right at that door as soon as they said, come on in. We're like, we're going right in.
So we beat everybody. We beat the first family of the day. We beat the concierge.
Well, there we go. We were the first guests back on board for the second one. Because we're really antsy. Staked out a spot by the pool. Relaxed for the afternoon. When the bars opened up, had a cocktail. Our friend Soul Duo happened to be playing, so we just enjoyed it until our room was available. Got some lunch.
Actually, we were very fortunate. Our room steward told us that we didn't have to wait.
Yes.
We could go back to our room.
Yes. I don't know if every room steward would tell you that, but ours was kind enough. Wayan. That's his name. Yeah. He was fantastic, wonderful, great room steward. Told you personally, like, you don't have to worry. That line, the tape that they put across the door that says you can't go in there till 1:30, pay no attention to that tape. That doesn't count you. You are excluded from that. You can go back to the room. So Michelle was able to go get her bathing suit on, grab some things out of the room because it was all in bed, and no worries.
Right.
I think she got a couple side eyes at one point. People wondering who didn't know her. But
what was really
no one stopped you.
Right. Nobody stopped me. A couple cool things happened though, but that was, personally for us. I don't know that this experience would be for everybody, but one, again, our room steward told me, he says, I'm going to do your room first as a priority. So you don't have to wait to come back. Mm-hmm. You can just don't. And he said, ignore the roped area that you can come through. And I think at one point I was probably going to get some side eyes, but he saw me and he goes, oh, hi, Michelle, how you doing? Did you get back in your room okay? Or something like that. So he kind of, made sure everybody knew that I had the hall pass.
He's really good. Really good. Love Wayne. He was fantastic. So she was able to go back to the room. We just relaxed, eventually got back to our room and chilled. But it was nice to have that nice afternoon sitting out there, Soul Duo playing music, having a drink of the day. We did go. That was a day. I remember. That was a day we went to Cabanas for lunch.
That's right.
We did go to Cabanas that day for lunch. And it was good.
Yeah.
Good stuff from Cabanas. And it was a really nice day. It was really hot outside. We'll say that. Fort Lauderdale was very, very hot in the port. And you're stationary, so there's not that much breeze. So it was a little warm, but we still had a wonderful, wonderful time. And it was just nice to be back on board and didn't have to go through all the extra rigmarole that you have to go through. So that was nice.
Yeah.
So, as we mentioned, though, the reason I broke this up is because the other onboard activities on the second half of the cruise was what themed cruise, Michelle?
Halloween on the high seas.
Yes, we were on the first, for the Magic, the first Halloween on the high seas sailing of the year.
Season, yes.
Yeah, of the year. And so everything had transitioned. We got to see a little bit of that before we left the ship, but everything had transitioned in between that time of when we got off the ship and to when we got on board. The pumpkin tree was out. The windows were decorated like jack-o'-lanterns. All the spooky stuff was out, and we were fully into the Halloween season on board Disney Cruise Line.
Right, yeah. Since there were a lot of things not quite open, it didn't take too long for things to open from when we got back on the ship. But there was a period, and I went around and took a lot of pictures as they were decorating the ship, and that was fun getting to see that happen.
Yeah. So we celebrated Halloween night. It was the night after Lookout Key. And they had some Halloween stuff going on all the time, but the main Halloween night was the night after Lookout Key, which was we boarded this sailing on the Monday night. This was the Tuesday night. And so we did trick-or-treating. which we went all through cabanas, and there were various stations, and they all handed us a couple pieces of candy. We all, you could be in costume. Lots of people in costume. Some not. We weren't in costume at that point.
Yeah, right.
We weren't in costume at that point, but we could have. And then they also had a deck party afterwards where the characters come out in their Halloween costumes and did some spooky dancing and fun. And it was just a good old time.
Right. And they had the characters actually around the ship for picture taking in their Halloween outfits. But yeah, they did have the Halloween party outside. They were awesome.
And they did that for each dinner seating. So again, if you don't know cruise dining or Disney Cruise Line dining, there's an early seating, which is like 5:30, and a late seating, which is 8:15. So they would stagger those. So each different one, it wouldn't mess with your dining time to be able to go do that.
Right.
And so we did that, and then we donned our costumes.
What did you think of the show? Because that was a different
It was
show.
fun. It was fun. I mean, it wasn't anything wow.
Right.
But it was fun. It's all your favorite characters, Disney characters out there on the deck, dancing to some, music and just having a good time. And it was a deck party. It's fun. Disney deck parties are always great.
They are great.
What did you think?
Yeah, same thing. I thought it was adorable, and they highlighted each of the main characters coming out, and it was really cute.
Yeah.
And considering it's only done during the Halloween season, that was a fun bonus in addition to like the sail away and the pirate party. This was separate.
And they also at the first night they had like a story under the tree that kind of brings it to life. That everybody gathers around, they tell a story. By the time we got there, it was a little too full. Michelle was not going to be able to see anything at her vertically challenged issue.
Right.
So we kind of went by there, just looked real quickly, and then moved on to the next thing we wanted to do. But it looked like a lot of fun if you wanted to check that out. We did, like I said, we donned our costumes. I've posted pictures on social media. They're going to be attached. At least one picture is going to be attached to the artwork for this episode. So if you want to see how we dressed up as Snow White and
Prince Charming.
Charming ? You can
Yes.
see that there as well. But yeah, then they had some photo opportunities around, including in front of the tree. They had a couple backdrops, some special things that were kind of magic shots. Yeah. And we just had a lot of fun. We did some of the pictures we kept that we ended up purchasing eventually.
Right, yeah.
Were from those because we enjoyed them so much.
Exactly. Yeah. We weren't expecting to really purchase pictures. They will take pictures with your cameras for the most part, not at Lookout Point.
Lookout Key at
not
Lighthouse Point.
Okay. Thank you. There they don't use your camera, but on the ship they do. The thing that you miss out though is one, the lighting is more optimal with the photographers on board the ship. But the other thing is the photographers have you do cute little poses or fun little reactions to things, and you don't get that. You don't get the magic shot in there. So,
right. So here's the key to know: if you see just a ship photographer, they will not take a photo with your phone. However, oftentimes, especially with the characters, there is a friend of the character there as well, or some sort of helper, some sort of crew member that is there. They were the ones, they'll actually, ask for your phone to take photos of you as well. They expect you to want photos on your phone, not necessarily have to purchase everything from them. So
yeah, and that's pretty much all the ones on the ship.
Right. But if you see a photographer just by themselves, they will not be taking a photo with your phone. Right. So know that going in. If that was what you were relying on, you're going to want to find a different photo opportunity for you if you weren't thinking that you might purchase it at all.
Right.
If there's no even small chance that you might purchase it, don't bother. Go do something else. Don't wait in the line or whatever it might be. But we got lots of great photos. Loved it. I thought the last time we did a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, there was a little bit more. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I felt like there was a little bit more. Still had fun. Still think it was great. It was a blast, but I remembered it a little bit. There was a little bit more things to do.
I agree with you. I felt like there was more emphasis on Halloween. I don't know if it's throughout the duration.
I think the big difference is then we discussed this. I think the big difference is because it was on a port day, and especially on a very important port day, because if this had been Nassau, they probably could have done it in the middle of the ship. Excuse me. But because this was Lookout Key, most everybody was getting off the ship.
Right.
So the last time we did it, it was a sea day. And so they kind of did the trick-or-treating and all the stuff in the middle of the day. When they were doing it later in the day, once everybody was on board, they didn't want to take up the atrium to allow people to get to dinner and so forth by doing this. So I feel like they shuffled it, and I think it didn't flow as well as when they did it in the middle of the day. But I mean, I understand why they had to do it that way.
Sure. I mean, I think the other things too in the past, and I don't know if they have this if you're doing a longer sailing with the Halloween on the high seas, like we had the night Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas
Sing
along in the theater for that, and it seemed like I just thought of something I can't remember now, but there was another activity. They had the tree storytelling more than once. They had it at the other sailings in the past. They had it a couple nights, so you had different options. So I think they truncated it, like you said. I mean, it was going to a brand new port that first time for most everybody on the cruise, and so they had a difficult time trying to coordinate.
It was fine. It was good. It wasn't my, like, I don't know if I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get aboard another Halloween on the high seas. I'm not bashing it by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think like the Marvel Day at Sea, I was like amazed. Like I got to do that again because that was fantastic. I don't feel necessarily the same way about this, but maybe on a longer cruise, like you were mentioning, it might be a little bit different.
Right. Possibly. I mean, I think I don't know if the prices are higher for those, because I didn't compare. I know for the holidays.
When we booked it, it hadn't been announced that it was a Halloween on the high seas. You kind of figured out that it might be, but it hadn't been announced yet.
Right. So, to me, it was a nice day to have some fun activities, or evening, I should say. But it wasn't the overall theming, I think, of the whole thing, because you still had pirate night to include in there. So I think it was just a subsection.
One thing that was interesting, and we have to note here, is that the differences in the other guests that were aboard the ship from one cruise to the other. You could tell that there was something different going on the second cruise. First cruise, I would say, was mostly, there were kids on board, fair amount of kids, but I'd say there was a lot of adults sailing alone without kids on that first sailing. Of course, the last one of the season before you got to the Halloween and the high seas. And then you got to the Halloween on the high seas, and there were the kid level definitely went up.
Yes.
And that was cool. I'm glad, because it was definitely, it is steered towards them, as it should be. And you could tell that they were really loving it, getting out in their costumes, and they would wear them not even on the Halloween day. They were wearing costumes on other days as well, because the kids love their costumes, and it was great to see.
Yeah, but you could just feel more energy in the whole experience of the cruise. So it's like at the main shows, you could just tell the audience was really into it. And
they weren't the jaded ones, like all these adults who have been on all these cruises already. No, they were all excited for everything.
Yeah, they were excited. They cheered on the performers way more on that one. Like I said, it just felt like a energy in the air. And I think too, because you're walking through the halls and you are seeing kids and they're running around and jumping, it just felt a lot more energy. It was cool. It was cute.
It was. So let's talk about, since you already brought up the entertainment, let's go ahead and talk about the entertainment that we had on board. And I'll start with some of the movies that we had on board. Of course, there's always the stuff at the poolside screen. They always have movies out there poolside that is all the classics, everything you love. It's on. If there's a movie you love, it's probably going to be on that screen at some point during the cruise. We did not check those out, but they're there for you if you do want to explore them. We did get to see some movies in the theater. One, we weren't sure we were going to get to see. One, we didn't know going in for sure it was going to be in the theater. Right. But two, they were very late at night showing it, and with good reason. But we did finally find a night when we kind of got a nap in. We weren't as tired. And it was just early enough that we can make it all the way through it. We did get to see Deadpool and Wolverine again in the theater, right, Michelle?
Right. Yeah, I think that one started either at 10:30 or 10:45, but at night. But yeah, we got to see that, which was really exciting because, like you said, we weren't sure if they were going to continue to be. We knew it was being played when the film first hit the theaters because they wanted to make it a comparable experience if you couldn't go to the theaters when opening night was. But it was fun to see that they still had it. Obviously, because of its R rating, I think that put it to the evening. They also had people out there. If there were kids, they had to have somebody 21 or older to accompany them and stay with them for the whole film. They couldn't just drop them
And
off.
we did see some kids in that theater that I was like, ooh, okay.
Yes.
But hey, more power to you. If you're good with that as a family and you think that's fine, I'm not one to judge. You do your thing.
Right. And some people may not know because we saw
We saw one little kid.
One lady who had brought her toddler in there, and they
We're like,
didn't stay very long.
no. Yeah. They were gone, I think, in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great and it was good. And the crowd was totally into it.
Yes.
Some people, you could tell some people had never seen it before, at this point, and that was great. Got a cheers. And one thing good about it, especially since people hadn't seen it before, is you got that almost first time viewing experience where people are cheering at things and applauding and laughing at the jokes, that you've already heard, and I loved that experience.
Yeah.
So that was great.
And I think people were really courteous. You didn't have like the cell phone usage and things, so it made you could be immersive into the show experience.
The other movie we saw, which we weren't sure at one point that we were going to get to see it because it seemed like every time that they had it listed at was kind of conflicting with some other things we had going on. So we were, I don't know if we're going to get to see it, and a good thing we'd already seen in the past, but we did on the very last day get to go see Inside Out 2 as well. Michelle, what did you think about seeing Inside Out 2 for the second time?
It was fun. It was fun seeing it again in the movie theater, and this crowd you could tell was a blend of people who had seen it before and people who hadn't. But it was packed. Like we stopped by there about half an hour before the film was scheduled to open, and there was already plenty of people. Not full, but there was enough people. If you wanted specific good seats, you had to already start.
Right. So those are the two movies we wanted to see, and those are the two movies we did see. They did have other movies as well. They had the new Planet of the Apes. I think it's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but Planet of the Apes movie. They were showing Wish still there occasionally. They were showing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny there. Was there anything else? Those are the only ones I can recall.
I think those were the only ones that I can recall.
That were in the theater themselves. Right. But yeah, again, part of being on Disney Cruise is those are complimentary movies that are in the theater still. Inside Out, still in the theater. Deadpool and Wolverine, still in the theater. Right. You can still see them. I mean, I know I've been out for a while, but they are still in the theater, and it doesn't matter. Even if it's the day they debut, they're on a Disney cruise. You can check them out.
Right.
So yeah, definitely go and take advantage of that on your next Disney cruise. Other entertainment, well, of course, there's the Broadway style shows that they have, which are our favorites. I love them so much. It's one of my favorite things about sailing aboard a Disney cruise. And Michelle knows this. It's like, I am going to try to go to every show I can, including one we saw twice. We did see every one of their shows. The one show that we saw was the Tangled show, right, which was basically a retelling of the movie on the stage. The other is Twice Charmed, which is it's kind of a spin on the Cinderella story. It's kind of an original story. Last time we saw that show, we'd seen the Tangled show the first time when we were on that sailing in May of 2016 on board the Magic. We also saw this, but they were in previews for it. Like they called in, I think it was just like the platinum and gold Castaway Club members in for a special preview as they were still kind of working it. It wasn't ready to be completely done and showcased on the stage yet. So we were kind of lucky to see it before it started. But that was the show that we saw twice because it's great. Because it's original and interesting, yet it still has all those elements that you know from Cinderella. So it's really, really cool. And the cast is phenomenal. And then we also did Disney Dreams, which always gets me every single time. We saved that for the very last night because it's one of those things that gives you all the Disney feels. Like you don't have them enough when you're getting off the cruise, but that show gives you all the Disney feels. That's kind of like the jukebox musical where they kind of go through a lot of Disney stories and movies that they kind of tell a story and they weave in songs and characters from different things. They do those on all the Disney cruises as well. So what did you think about the stage show, sweetheart?
Oh, I thought they were all wonderful. I mean, the crew, especially the last couple years that we've been going on, I feel like they even have elevated the level of talent that they have in these shows. And it really is impressive. Their performers are outstanding. And just as I mentioned with the audience too, the second sailing, we definitely had people who were much more appreciative, I think, and, more standing ovations, but the shows are really great. I know that, for some people, they think that it's just geared towards kids, and there is that element to it, but there is enough of substance to it that adults will appreciate and enjoy the storylines.
Yeah, I loved them. I loved all three shows. Again, obviously, I could have seen all three of them twice. We had other things that we wanted to do, so we didn't go to all the shows, knowing we were going to get a chance to see them at different points. But they're all wonderful, phenomenal. As Michelle mentioned, the crew was the cast, the crew, all the technicians, fantastic. Love those shows so much. Do yourself a favor on your Disney cruise. Don't miss the shows, especially when it's the Broadway style shows. Don't miss them. They're so good, and they will tug at all the heartstrings.
Yes.
Show me.
Exactly.
And the one thing that, by the way, that caught me off guard, and this is going to be a slight spoiler for Disney Dreams, but there's a segment that's a Lion King segment. And this was right after James Earl Jones had passed away, just within a couple days afterwards. And it's the Mufasa cloud scene where, it
says, remember who you are.
And it's James Earl Jones. I'm getting choked up now. It's James Earl Jones's voice. And it crushed me.
Yeah.
Because his voice is so memorable for so many different things. And it was so beautiful. And it was just wonderful to hear him there at that moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It really was very poignant at that moment. I think another little thing that we experienced was we had gone to the Cove Cafe
many times.
Many times. But we had gotten coffee the morning after James Earl Jones passed away, and there was one of the baristas there who we had seen a couple times, and he had selected different little logos to put on the coffee for us. And on that day, he gave each of us, it was a headshot of Darth Vader. And he said, because of James Earl Jones and recognitions of James Earl Jones. So, but yes, I agree in that at that moment in Disney Dreams, the musical, I think they call it.
Yeah.
It was very like, wow, yeah, he's gone. But I mean, it was kind of, again, poignant in the film. He is gone.
Right.
Mufasa is
That's
gone.
That's why the whole thing, it was like James Earl Jones, Mufasa, speaking to us from wherever he might be.
Right.
The
afterlife.
Looking down on us. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was an amazing moment. And that show always wrecks me anyway, but that got me even earlier than normal because of that.
The other ships have a similar style show for usually the last
I think every one of them has something like that.
Yeah. Right. So
at least one. Sometimes they have two.
Yeah. And they usually try to keep it performed on the last evening.
Yeah. Almost every ship has at least one show like that. Sometimes it's two. And then they have like a show based on Disney animated film, like Tangled or Frozen or Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, etc. Aladdin. And of course the new ones we have some new cool stuff coming out with Hercules and the Disney Destiny.
Right.
Yeah. So the shows were great. We even got to see, and they are doing this regularly on some of they didn't do it on the 3-night, but they did it on the 4-night. We noticed that one of the characters was very, very good. Um, well, that's because
Stood
this
out.
character, this actress, is a Broadway actor.
Yes.
That they do this regularly now. They've been doing it for several years now on Disney Cruise Line with their staff. They bring aboard somebody to be on board with them for a certain amount of time, and play certain parts within their shows that have real Broadway experience.
Right.
That have done stuff on Broadway, and then they usually will bring them on at a later time to do a little one-person show, essentially. So they'll tell a little bit about their life, sing some songs, and we got that. Her name was Gail Bennett. She'd been in several things, including in Mary Poppins.
Yes.
And she was phenomenal. She played Mother Gothel and she played villains.
Yes.
Mother Gothel on the Tangled Show and Lady Tremaine in the Twice Charmed
Right.
show.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was amazing, obviously, in the performances of the shows. But even her one-person show, she was spectacular. I could definitely see she, to me, looked like a Mary Poppins type of a person. So I could have just seen her perform Mary Poppins for sure. But yeah, it's a great addition that they have, and that they don't restrict it to adults. Kids were there. They have it in one of the venues on board the ship. It's kind of a smaller venue, so it's
a very intimate
right
space. Yeah.
But like as Tom said, they put on I think it was about a 45-minute show.
About 35 minutes.
Yeah.
She closed it out to make sure we could get to dinner in time because it was started
Right.
at 7:30. Our dinner was at 8:15. They wanted to be
Right.
able to make sure you can make dinner. They don't want you to be late.
Right. But it's great to have somebody of that caliber, somebody on Broadway, and then they also share their experience of either what brought them to Broadway or something about that made their story special.
Yeah, we've seen it multiple times, and definitely if that is offered during your sailing, take advantage of it because they're great shows. They're impressive people that have done wonderful things in the industry, and it really is a plus for sure to your vacation. So definitely check that out. Anything else entertainment wise? Oh yeah, how can we forget? I'm not even going to go that way. The one last thing I need to bring up entertainment wise is we need to talk about our friends, Paul and Sonia, Soul Duo. It was so good catching up with them again. We hadn't seen them together since that crazy pandemic Panama Canal cruise, which you can go back and listen to that episode all about that. But we had not been with them together. We were with Paul one time. Sonia's visa was having a little bit of a hiccup with her getting back on board. So Paul was there. Instead of Soul Duo, he was Soul Uno. Soul Uno, yes. And so we did get to catch up with him, but we had not seen Sonia in, 5 years. Even though we've been interacting with them with episodes on the show and through social media, we had great quality time listening to them and their wonderful music and sitting down at a few different times and just talking with them and catching up for hours. And it was amazing and special.
Right, for sure. And they are so appreciative of the people, their audience, and of people who do follow them. We weren't the only ones that, they had an opportunity to connect with, and it was just such a warm experience watching them interact with people that over the years they've become familiar with as a result of people enjoying their music, enjoying their talent. And so that was so incredible.
Their fandom is growing all the time, and I couldn't be happier to see it because they are really, really wonderful performers. They do a great job. They're passionate, but they're also so down to earth and amazing people that it couldn't be two better people that you see how people appreciate what they're doing on stage. I mean, sometimes they're playing in the edge, people are just trying to rush in and get their food or whatever, but sometimes they'll play a song and people will just stop down and listen to it. And that's amazing. And like I said, the fandom is growing and we couldn't be happier about it.
Right. And we should mention that the ship has more than one group on there. I mean, we're just
fans of the best group.
Right. Exactly. But there was other entertainment, and they rotate through the different venues, different styles of performers in terms of the type of music, the type of instruments they're using, etc. So, but yes, it was it was key to us to reconnect with Paul and Sonia.
Yeah. And we did, boy, did we. And it was great. And
Yes.
we plan on connecting with them much, much more here in the near future, and carrying we preliminary discussion of maybe getting them back on the show here sometime when they can take a breath. They're just about done with this contract. Then they're going to be back on board the Disney Fantasy here in a few more weeks. But once they get a breather, we're going to see about getting them back on the show and talking about everything that's gone on, and just always fun talking with them. So
Yes.
that'll be nice. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get to it now. This is probably what you've been waiting for an hour and 20 minutes here. Yeah. Let's talk about Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. I got the name right.
Very good.
We visited twice. That was part of the reason why we did the back-to-back. And just in case, we are in the peak hurricane season. Sorry, everybody in the Gulf area and on through there. Hope you guys are doing okay right now. So we weren't sure what the weather would be like. So we wanted to be sure and have two opportunities. We didn't know, especially when we booked this, if it would be like Castaway. We've run into Castaway a couple times where we weren't able to get into port because of the weather situation. Right. And would this be similar to that? Well, luckily enough, we were able to get in there twice, and we couldn't have asked for better weather while we were there, right, Michelle?
Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. And I guess we lucked out because we had heard from several of the cast members that there had been rainy days prior to our cruising there. So and in fact, it had rained the day before on our second visit to Lighthouse Point.
Lookout Key. Yes, you got Lighthouse Point right.
Thank you.
You'd say either one, Lookout Key, Lighthouse Point, or Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point.
Right. But yeah, very fortunate that we had nice sunny weather and wonderful breeze. It was warm, but we had a great breeze to keep us cool.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It was great. Now let's start by talking about one of the things that everybody talks about when they were critiquing this space, which is, of course, the long pier going from the ship. People were talking about how long it is, how far it is, how there's no shade, and how you go, you have to be on there for so long to get to there before you actually even get to the tram. And yes, all those things are true. But our experience with it, and I don't know if you shared this experience with me, Michelle, I feel, one, the breeze was really nice. Yes, you should bring an umbrella or bring a hat and sunscreen up before you get out there because, yes, there's not a lot of shade. There are stops along the way where you can get some water if you need some water. It's fine. And if you're somebody who has some issues walking that distance, they do run golf cart shuttles that fit up to like 7 people, pretty much continuously going up and back. You may have to wait depending on how busy it is, but you can do it that way too. But there was even though it was sunny, the breeze going across there kept it really cool. I never felt significantly overheated on that walk. What do you think, Michelle?
Right. One, I think personally, I had the mindset of probably expecting the worst.
Right.
And so it didn't seem to be as long as I was thinking it was going to be. But again, I was anticipating something very, very extreme. So I think that helped me out. And when you're going by the water there, and now, I've lived on the coast, whether it was the east coast of Florida, the west coast of Florida, the west coast over in California. I've always lived in beach area. This water was so spectacular. The color, I can't even describe it. It was the most unique shade of like a blue-green that I've ever seen, and it's crystal clear, and it's just so as you're walking, you're really immersing yourself into nature already. And that, like you said, we had the nice breeze, and it was just beautiful to look at.
Right. Yeah, it was beautiful. What I would say about this is I think that if people really thought about it, like the walk on Castaway Key, which no one really complains about, is maybe slightly shorter, but it's still pretty long. But the fact that you're on the island, you don't see this long path ahead of you. I think the perception changes. And so you think of it differently, but I don't think it's I do think it's longer, but I don't think it's significantly longer walking down this pier. And we're somebody maybe we're not the best judges. We walk on Castaway Key too. We'll walk all the way to Serenity Bay. We won't take the trams at all.
Right.
But still, you get there, you get the end of the pier. They have water there. They have cool towels waiting for you if you get a little overheated. They try and do the best for you that you can. They have some little shops there if you want. They can set up your any tours that you have there if you need to meet up for a boat tour or whatever. It's at the end there. And then the trams are all there, and the trams are running continuously.
Constant.
Yeah. Like there was never any wait in between. I mean, more than just maybe a minute
Waiting
in between
for one to close up and drive off.
Right.
And then the next one was
next one
right
will pull
there.
right up. Trams there, and then it's a bit of a ride until you get to the main area. And then depending on where you go, you can walk pretty quickly out to the first beach, the first family beaches. We went to Serenity Bay. So that's a bit more of a hike on top of that, but nothing terrible, I thought. There are like beach wheelchairs available for you if there's someone who needs to get kind of helped along the way for a portion of it. Those are there. I thought it was great. And now we were on obviously one of the smaller ships, the classic ships, the Magic, the Wonder. They have quite a few fewer guests than they do on the Dream, the Fantasy, the Wish, upcoming on the Treasure and the Destiny, of course. But the first time we went there, we got out actually relatively late. We slept in, took our time getting some breakfast, got ready, got all our stuff together. Definitely got out well after a lot of people got out on the ship. We still had no problem finding a deck chair on the beach with an umbrella.
Right.
No problem. Had a great spot. And now I will say that I could see, especially and that was, by the way, that was the Serenity Bay, and that was with the cruise that we were talking about with the more adults. Right. So a lot more people heading to Serenity Bay. There, I could see on some of the bigger ships that maybe you'll run out, but that happens at Castaway Key too, that some of the chairs there run out. But there are lots more chairs that were kind of back over the berm there. So there's the beach. There's a berm that you kind of go over, and then there's another area where there's lots of chairs and everything. So while they're not as ideal because you don't get the ocean right in front of you, you don't get quite the breeze, but if shade is more important to you, plenty of spaces there. Like they were hardly being used, is what I would say about that. So definitely there will be opportunities, even with the bigger ships, to find a shady spot if that's what you're looking for.
Right. And just to clarify, whether you're going to Castaway or Key or this new location, there are going to be chairs for everybody. They do have enough for everybody. It's just if you want umbrellas over you, then that's where you might find some a little bit more challenge.
Those prime spots that you want.
Right.
We had no problem. Both times, prime spot. We picked the spot that the spot we liked. We went to and returned to the second time because we liked the spot so much. It was great. One interesting thing about this, and I'll say this, is that we noticed it didn't happen. I don't think, of course, we weren't out as much because we were more exploring on our second time out there. But the first time out there, we were noticing that the lifeguards, and there are lifeguards on Serenity Bay as well, were telling some kids that they had to move off of this beach. But I think there's a good reason for it, and that's because as opposed to Castaway Key, where Serenity Bay is like completely separated from the family beaches and the kids areas, the family beach and Serenity Bay are butted right up against one another. And the only thing you can tell the difference is there's a little rope that goes part of the way down the beach, which you easily wouldn't see. And there's a sign there that you could easily, if you're not paying attention, pass by and just think, okay, I'm going to go here. But the lifeguards are on top of it. They're like, I'm sorry, anybody under 18 can't be on this portion of the beach. You need to go down about 50 feet and you can swim over there. So that was happening, but it wasn't an issue. Just something I wanted to point out that could be easily missed if you're not paying attention.
Exactly. But yeah, they were keeping an eye out for that.
The other thing is that that's better about this I'll say than Castaway Key is the snorkeling is a lot better.
Yes.
In my opinion. We have not run into great snorkeling at Castaway Key. I think there is some spots that are okay, but not great. There's pretty darn good snorkeling at Lookout Key.
Right. Yeah. We can't say it's the world's best snorkeling place, but They do have some interesting, because you have the natural coral there, right by the beach that you can experience.
Yeah, you will need to have they give some life vests out that you will need to get one of those there. You can bring your own snorkel gear. You can rent snorkel gear. They do, if you just go to the lifeguard towers, they have these, you know, neon green vests.
Right.
They're life vests that you can blow up. Some people didn't even bother to blow them up. They just put them on. You do have to wear them, which I think is twofold. One, of course, it's safety purposes, that you want them safety. It's also so the lifeguards can spot you easily when you're out there. I also think they're trying very hard to protect the climate out there, and by making sure that you're wearing these life vests, you're not going to be diving down and disrupting the coral and the sea life and et cetera out there. That's just one more way to kind of ensure that.
Right. And actually, there is signage telling you cannot go below the surface to snorkel. And they do watch for that. Unfortunately, yeah, if you bring your own equipment, you might miss the sign. But they will watch and they will tell you,
and they'll bring them to you even.
Right. Yeah. But you might not know that you cannot. They don't want you to be diving down.
Right.
You need to snorkel on the surface.
Right.
But you can see things. There is plenty to see in the area, and but they will say something to you if you try to do diving.
Yeah. But the water's crystal clear. The temperature, at least for this when we were there, was perfect.
Perfection.
Like it's not too warm. It's not too cold. It is perfect. Now, of course, you know, obviously it's going to differ at different times of the year, but it is perfect. That water was spectacular. Loved it very, very much. Let's talk about one of the other issues there, and then we've heard so many people talking about, and that is the fly situation out at Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point when you're going to get your meal. There is a fly situation. It still exists there for sure. However, I don't think it's as bad as what people ran into the very first time they cruised there. Disney has done their best to kind of keep it contained. If you're, from what we looked at, if you're at the True True or True True 2 barbecues, they have your table seatings there, big fans there. So that's actually a plus because it's cooling there. But I also think that helps keep some of the flies away. We didn't notice some fly issues there. Over at Serenity Bay, though, there are some there at their Serenity Bay barbecue. You want to be, if you can, ask them they have these little fans that kind of spin around that you can put in the center of your table. They work amazingly well at keeping flies away. They won't completely keep them away, but they do ward them off pretty well.
Right. I mean, in terms of the type of experience you have now is what you would experience in like your local park if you had some flies coming by. So they're not like hundreds swarming, but there's, you might find a couple at your table keep coming by, But like Tom said, they have these little fans. They're not really a fan because they don't cool anything down. It's a very thin blade that spins around, but it's enough to, I guess it'd be like if you were swatting your arm to try to keep the flies out of the area. Now they don't have enough that we saw for every table. But they will help you out. Like they didn't have one when we went to first sit down, but they went to a table where they were finished eating. They were still sitting there, and they just asked if they could move that because they didn't have food anymore, and brought it over to us. So that was our experience with it.
So they're there. So know that going in, that you are going to have, I would suggest from what we saw. Now, we didn't really eat a lot there at True True or True True 2, the other two barbecues, the family ones. But we did walk through there and didn't see a lot of fly activity there. So if you're worried about that, go there, eat there. It's going to be a little more crowded because it's the family space, but
it's the same food.
It's the same food, and it might be a better option for you. As for the food itself, I actually enjoyed the food a lot. They have these ribs there that fall off the bone. They're sticky. They're not a lot of spice to them, but they're sweet, sticky, nice sauce to them. I really enjoyed those. They also have burgers. They have dogs. I think one of the issues Michelle had was a little bit of a difficulty getting a veggie burger. She got them every time, but it was a little bit of a work to get your veggie burger, right?
Yeah, you have to ask for it. And when they give you the veggie burger, it's just your standard like Boca burger, veggie burger on a bun. Um, but you can go get ketchup. I didn't see condiments. Because I guess with the
You mean like
flies.
lettuce, tomato, onion?
Right.
Stuff
That
like
I didn't see. On their regular burgers, they did. And because I'm not plant-based option eater only, I splurged and I did get a regular burger. So I had like a double
She had a
stack.
veggie, she's double patty, veggie, and burger.
Yes, but that way I had some tomatoes, pickles, onions, lettuce on there as well. So that made and cheese. So that made it a little bit for me. But when I just asked for the veggie burger, it was just the burger on a bun. So
Yeah, but
but
food
you can
there,
ask for it.
yeah, you do need to ask for it. It won't be there just for you. With macaroni and cheese, some, coleslaw, potato salad, it was all pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought I liked the food there actually better than Castaway Cay.
Yeah, I did too.
So that was good. And there's lots of stuff to do there too. It's not just, obviously lay on the beach. We did that. But there's plenty of stuff to do. The junk canoe, excuse me. The junk canoe is so fun. The little parade that they put on, that is dealing with the Bahamian culture. And you can go to the cultural center there, the Bahamian Cultural Center, and learn about it. You can do some crafts there, which we did. We created little junk canoe hats and everything to go along with it. And it's so fun. Definitely check it out. We did not get to do the nature trail yet. That's going to be the next time we go, I think.
Right. And pointing out the junk canoe parade, they don't call it a parade. They just call it the junk canoe. It's locals. You could tell that it's locals that are coming out to that part of the island too, and they're all dressed up in their gear and with their instruments and really festive. But it's nice. Not that it would have been a problem having Disney cast, but I like that they had the locals from the island.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a good little party. Then they do it a few times during the day, so if you miss one, you can see another one. But it's a blast. It's fun.
And you get to be part of it because they bring you out you can dance with them.
It is just a good time. So you should definitely check that out while you're there. Make the time to get away from your beach chair and go check it out because it's part of the experience. And it's just fun. And one more thing we have to bring up because I think this is important. I know it is for Michelle. The bathroom situation on Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. Michelle, what did you think about the bathroom situation?
They were wonderful. They're tiled. They're clean. They're refreshing them all day, constantly. That's my only thing about Castaway Cay, and I get it. It goes with the theming that it's just much more.
And it was built along quite a bit. Long ago,
more out in the open and open field. This is just like really, really nice, beautiful restrooms and comfortable to go in. And then they have, the outdoor areas. They have plenty of, whether it's foot rinse areas or if you want to shower, the salt off of you as well. The sand is the finest sand. It doesn't.
Oh, that's sand. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. I despise sand. That sand it's like baby powder. It is the finest sand I think I've ever been in.
Yeah. So it's not as sticky as most beaches.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's for sand. I'm not a fan of sand. For sand, wonderful sand. Big fan. What do you think? Castaway Cay, Lookout Key, which one you going to?
Lookout.
There you go.
Yeah.
I agree. And maybe it's the newness. Maybe, after we've gone a billion times like we've been to Castaway, maybe we might think differently. But I just from this and for the activities that you can do and the culture and the artwork, everything. I mean, obviously it's all new, but it was beautiful, spectacular. I would go there ahead of Castaway Cay, at least as it stands today.
Right.
Yeah. So very good. If you have any questions about Lookout Key, happy to answer. I know we kind of brushed through this quickly because we're going long, but happy to answer any questions. Just going to wrap things up, as you should, with disembarkation on the ship. Either day, disembarkation was easy peasy. You have to be out of your room by 8. You can go get breakfast. They called us. We could have left way before 8 if we wanted to. We took our time, had some breakfast, got off the ship. But they were moving people off of that ship for sure.
Yeah, very efficient.
Yeah. So it's easy. Again, any questions about that, happy to answer it. It was a great cruise, lovely cruise. Can't wait. We booked a Disney Destiny cruise. in between cruises on this one. So that's coming up too. We have more coming up as well. We'll tell you about those. But that was our magical back-to-back Disney cruise.